In this video, we're gonna go a little bit behind the scenes of a recent video that I got to film over on the Fuzzlord Effects channel, and that was with the guitarist and singer of the band YOB, Mike Scheidt. So if that sounds cool, stick around. Before we get into it, I wanna say thank you for watching. If you're new here, my name is Merrow. Here on the channel, you're gonna find gear demos and instructional videos and generally just videos to help creatives and musicians just like you. So if that sounds cool, please take a look around. If you like the videos, please subscribe. And if you want to keep up with me on a daily basis, you can always head on over to Instagram. My handle is @EricMerrow. So recently, as I said, my buddy Jason and I, Jason from Fuzzlord Effects, he's the owner of Fuzzlord Effects. I work with him and for him on a lot of different projects. We got to film with Mike Scheidt of YOB. Mike is the guitarist and singer of YOB, and YOB's actually based here in Eugene. So Mike saw a pedal that we released a run of, the FET 120, and he liked the artwork. Jason said, hey man, if you ever want to check out pedals, we have a rehearsal space with all the pedals set up. Just let us know and you're free to come down and check them out. So Mike actually took us up on that offer, and he came over one night and we just, Jason and I listened to him play through all the Fuzzlord pedals, and Mike really gravitated toward the Darkmaster, and he graciously offered his time and allowed us permission to film him playing like a section of one of their songs. He chose the intro to The Great Secession, and so that's what we did. I filmed him playing that little bit because he really liked the Darkmaster. And of course, if you haven't seen the video, I will leave a card above and a link in the description below so you can go watch the video after you're done with this one. And I just wanted to kind of like tell you about the setup that we use. So video-wise, it was pretty straightforward. We had a key light, just like I do here, one key light, and then we had a backlight, kind of like right here. And I was using this camera that you're looking at right now, the one that you're watching. It is the Sony a7S III, so it's the newest Sony a7S series. I'm using the 16-35 f4 Sony Zeiss lens, so it's a native lens. And that was quite literally the setup. I'm using it right now. So I was just hand holding the camera, standing approximately the same distance that we are right now, like 3 or 4 feet away from Mike, and I was kind of moving the camera around. I could zoom in easily because it's a zoom lens. I could zoom in tighter on the guitar shots. I could be wide to get the top of his head and the guitar in the frame. And just super simple setup, super like run and gun setup on the video end. And the audio turned out really well, and it wasn't anything special. That's one reason why I wanted to go over it with you, is because I think it sounded really good, the results that we got, and it was pretty simple. So we had Mike and his guitar running through the Darkmaster, and then running into the front of the Fuzzlord Effects FL103, which is a high-watt DR103 clone. And then from the high-watt clone, we're going into an Emperor GT cab with one 15-inch speaker and then one 12-inch speaker. So we have 2 different speakers in that cab. And each of those speakers was mic'd with a 57, an SM57. You can find them all day on the used market, on the new market. They're like $100. They're super affordable, they're super reliable, and they always sound great. So we had 2 57s, one on the 12-inch speaker, one on the 15-inch speaker, and we had Mike playing, and that's quite literally all we used to record this. I recorded straight into GarageBand via a Scarlett, I think it's an 18i20. It's one of the 8-channel Scarlett interfaces. It's actually a Gen 2, not even a Gen 3, and it was super simple. All the effects that you heard on the track were coming straight from the pedal board. I think the only thing we had on was that Darkmaster. And then one thing I thought was really cool was that Mike tunes to A standard. So he has a guitar set in A standard, so it's A to A. And when I brought the audio into my video program, which is Premiere, where I edit video and audio together, so I started editing the audio with an EQ. Generally, the only thing that I do is roll off everything below 20 hertz with an EQ filter. But what I noticed was kind of surprising. So like usually when we record guitars at the Fuzzlord rehearsal space, we'll see a pretty standard kind of EQ curve, and that is, a significant amount of bass frequencies, and then it kind of like goes down gradually up into the high end, but it doesn't, like it gets all the way up to the, the 20,000 hertz range. There's information on both sides of the spectrum, so low frequencies and high frequencies. And one thing that I thought was interesting and surprising when I brought in the files from Mike's recording, it started the same, you know, a lot of low end, and then it drastically dipped to, you know, almost nothing in the higher end frequencies. And that's because he's tuned in A standard, so it's a lot lower of a fundamental frequency range and pitch range, which I just thought was really interesting because it's, you know, it was out of the ordinary, and that's really cool. And another really cool thing is that even with that frequency representation, the guitars still sound great. There's a lot of clarity in his guitars. I believe he sets it up with 14 to 68 strings, and he has kind of lower output pickups which kind of retain that clarity. So you don't have, you know, an overabundance of low end when you're hearing it through an amp. But I thought that was cool. I just wanted to share that little like EQ representation of Mike's guitar. So now we have our video and audio. I bring it into Premiere. Again, Adobe Premiere is where I edit video and audio. I sync them together visually because I had Mike do the trick where you scrape your hand or a pick on the strings to give a really stark note on the audio waveform. And I can match the video and the audio together, so I did that. Mike did, I think, 3 takes of the song just, you know, to get the flow and get comfortable, because it's not typically comfortable playing guitar with the person holding a camera in your face. So he got his flow down pretty quickly. We did 3 takes, and the third one was perfect. I go to the third take because that's the one we agreed on. The only audio processing I did was I took the 12 and 15, I panned them out just a little bit to give kind of like a wider stereo representation. And then I ran them into a submix track, which is essentially taking both audio tracks, routing them into another channel strip on your DAW. And from there, I processed that submix track with a multi-band compressor just to kind of even out the dynamics of the track, you know, bring the quiet parts up and bring the louder parts down, just to give a more stable and like constant audio stream to the master track. And then from on the master track, all I did was put a limiter on it. So yeah, again, if you haven't seen the video that we filmed with Mike, I will leave a link in the description below. I hope you dig that. I hope you dug this walkthrough of, you know, the behind the scenes of the video. It was a pretty simple video to film and a very simple editing workflow. I didn't really have to do much. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this video, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to keep up with me on a daily basis, interact with me a little bit more, you can always head on over to Instagram, where my handle is @EricMerrow. And before I get out of here, I want to send a gigantic thank you to these folks right over here who are my executive producers from my Patreon page. Now, they help support the channel. I typically say I can't thank you enough, or I can't express how much, but in this video, I wanted to say that just knowing that you support me gives me the confidence to keep going, and I really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much for the support, executive producers over on Patreon. Thank you for watching this. If you want to learn more about how to support the channel, I'll leave a link in the description below. But thank you so much for watching this. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I will talk to you in the next video.